Hey there, folks. I'm your moderator, Yetmir from Albania. Today, I'm very honored to have Shey from Canada. Thank you, Shey, for accepting my invitation. I love your pictures. I love your passion. It definitely comes through your pictures, but also I got to know about you from the interview you had with Ray a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken. So it's fantastic. We do these interviews essentially to get to know our folks, you know, to have these conversations on what folks do. Like, are we doing the same things? What can we learn from each other? What are the habitats? What are the species? What type of gear? All those conversations that we love talking when we are out with friends. Oftentimes we understand individuals will go out to photograph by themselves, but also sometimes photographing in group. It's a lot of fun. You share findings, it's a lot of good. So here we are with Shey. So Shey, why don't we start with telling us a little bit about who you are?
First of all, thank you, Yetmir, for inviting me to have this conversation. I really do enjoy talking about photography, so it's always a pleasure to discuss this hobby that we're all so passionate about. Photography for me has been kind of a long journey, but you know, I got kind of a inkling and an urge to take photos as early as 2006 when I bought my DSLR. Before, you know, I was just doing point and shoot, just having fun with, you know, photography and taking it everywhere I go. And then, but, you know, I wanted to do more, and, you know, I got my DSLR and started shooting all kinds of different things, and, you know, street photography, travel photography, portraiture, whatever. And, you know, not too serious, nothing like that, but it was fun. And then I, you know, as I got to progress, I, you know, started buying lenses, started taking things more seriously. I got my full frame camera in 2016, I believe. And that's what I shoot on now. So, you know, I've been kind of trying and dabbling in different types of photography. And for me now, it's really all about birds. And that's what I love to shoot. Got kind of interested in birding from actually from the incident with Christian Cooper, where he was falsely accused of threatening this lady who was, you know, wouldn't leash her dog. And it just got me thinking, wow, you know, there are, you know, identifying as a Black person myself, I didn't know that there are other Black people that watched birds, and so it made me interested. So I got into birding, and by that summer I was going out looking for birds, and I realized I needed something to see the birds with, because, you know, I couldn't get close with my 100mm lens that I had at the time. So that's where I decided to buy my first telephoto lens and get into it, and just been since then just trying to get better and you know, put out good images and learn more about the birds.
That's awesome. Awesome. We'd love to hear a little bit about the habitats you photograph. Where do you usually photograph? Have you been abroad? Are you a local photographer? What kind of species you are after most? Like, is there any specific one that you really want? Like we all have at times, you know, we after like a kingfisher, for example, or something. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with photography now, especially with the pandemic. It's given me an opportunity to really focus locally, and most of my photography is done just in my region. I live in Peel region, and so most of the stuff I do is there, and it's a suburban area. There are some habitats that are, you know, varied, but it's limited, but it's quite the challenge being in this urban space and trying to find birds, and I really kind of embrace that challenge. So I've been trying to this year at least go out and spread out more and drive a little bit further and see what's out there, because I know that further out there are more opportunities, but I still like kind of staying local. So that's what I've been doing. I would love to, you know, eventually get to do some more travel once, you know, things settle down a little bit. Of course, things are opening up now. So as you know, especially as my kids get older, you know, hopefully I get a chance to do some more of that. But in terms of habitats, I love, you know, all kinds of different birds, from, you know, sparrows, and
Mhm.
warblers and ducks. Ducks are something I'm really into right now because of winter, and we get a large variety of species in the winter. Spring is coming, so we'll get a nice migration of songbirds and warblers and other birds that are coming in. And so I'll probably switch over to those really soon. Shorebirds in the fall. Those are kind of the highlights of my year. But every year, every season's I found has been pretty good for birds, and depending on what kind of birds you like to shoot and where you like to look. For me, I love all of it. I tend to like the kind of small little birds that people don't know about or don't care so much about. So that's kind of what I focus on. A species I was really hoping to see this year were Bohemian waxwings. Not very common this year at all in our area. They haven't come this far south. So if I wanted to get that, I'd probably have to drive a couple hours north to go find them. But still, I've been trying to kind of just get around and find out what's around and what's here. Certain species that overwinter that shouldn't be here, but they are. I've kind of been focusing on those. A red-shouldered hawk that's nearby that I've been spending some time with. But other than that, I don't typically focus on any one species. I just kind of take what's around because I'm local most of the time.
That's awesome. And I understand you like to include habitat in your photography, meaning there is the subject and then there is more. And I think it's a very nice approach to introducing more environment to the pictures. I think that's a very nice approach to it. And this kind of leads us nicely to talking about a little bit of the gear, like what is how important, what is the how important is the gear to your photography, and how do you think it makes a difference? And maybe a little bit of a post-production. What is your take on post-production? How much post-production you do? How do you deal with it? Kind of, if you can share a little bit about this perspective with us, please.
Yeah. Well, in terms of my gear, I still shoot on my first full frame that I bought 2016. That's a Canon 6D. A little bit older model, but I'm not ready to pony up the investment for a mirrorless just yet. But I plan on doing that eventually, going to probably the R5. I started out with a Sigma 150 to 600. That was my first kind of birding lens that I started with. And recently, I kind of upgraded that to a Canon 300 millimeter 2.8 version 2, and that's what I shoot with now. And I pair that with a 2x converter. So I'm shooting 600 with a maximum aperture 5.6. So a little bit different take, especially with the way I like to shoot. I do tend to include a lot of habitat, like you say, but I found that I wasn't really using the zoom as much. I was usually kind of just zooming with my legs anyway, just to give the bird space. And most of the time, I can't get as close as I'd like to anyway. So I take that opportunity to kind of frame the bird in the scene and try to tell a story of what the bird's doing at that moment in time. So it hasn't been too much of a difference going from a zoom to a prime with the 300 shooting at 600. It's been kind of refreshing to not have to even worry about moving the barrel. I can just do what I normally do and just walk around and change my perspective and change my angles and so on. But it's been nice to have that little bit extra light from the wider aperture, more sharpness, faster autofocus. So it has been so much better, and I'm getting a lot better results for sure. So that's what I shoot with now. I shoot handheld. I don't use a tripod or a monopod or anything like that. I've tried it. I don't really like it. I tend to do a lot of hiking and walking, and it's hard to walk 5, 6, 7, 8 kilometers with a heavy lens and a tripod. So I chose a 300 because it's pretty light, comparable to my Sigma, and isn't really that big, I don't find anyway, but it's just a slight difference in weight. But so far that's been proving well for me.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes when we photograph, we don't realize, or maybe later we realize that it's also a nice fitness, if you will. You know, you're walking, you have, you know,
Oh, for sure. Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's good, it's awesome, and
My back muscles are better than before.
yeah, you really and it's very nice from that perspective as well. How much post production do you do to your work usually?
Yeah.
What do you?
Um, I use Lightroom maybe
Okay.
90 to 95% of the time, only in Lightroom. Once in a while, I will go into Photoshop if I need to, clone out a branch or something like that. I try not to do a ton of, I mean, it's all relative how much people say they, is a lot of post-production and how much isn't. But for me, I try to keep it to what I remember the scene being like. You know, I might have a very colorful memory of because I do
Right.
enjoy color,
Yeah.
but I try to bring that color back because, as you know, raw images, they're very flat coming straight out of the
Sure.
camera. So I try to bring that color back to what I remember it being like, or at least what I remember it feeling like. And I'll take things away like, branches and things that distract from the image, but I don't add things to, images or replace skies or anything like that. It's just not my style. I want to keep it as
Right.
true to the scene as I can. But, I will, well, most of my stuff is done in Lightroom.
Mhm.
I would say, yeah, well over between 90 to 95%. It's just that those few things sometimes I need to go into Photoshop to clone something out or something more advanced that Lightroom can't do. But that's most of what I do. But I do process all of my images because I find that all of them need to either be cropped or to have colors adjusted. Even just getting the right color is something that I've really tried to get better at, trying to replicate, especially with birds. They're very colorful, and you want to represent that property so that the whites are whites, the blacks are blacks, and at least and the color of the light that's happening too. If I'm going out in the mornings and I've got some beautiful golden light, I want to make sure that comes through. It doesn't get washed out by the flat file, or if it's just there's pretty pinks and blues from a sunset or sunrise. I want to make sure that comes through and that you can feel kind of what I was feeling when I was there at the time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Definitely. Finally, we do like to we ask everybody this question. I think it's important to see others' perspective. How do you enrich your hobby? Like, do you find yourself like getting stuck at times? Like, okay, I'm shooting similar scenes, similar words. Like, how do you keep it rich? Like, or have you found yourself getting stuck at moments and then wanting to just do something different to spice up your hobby a little bit, so this way you can enrich it? Like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think we all kind of get stuck sometimes if
Yeah.
we are, especially if we're used to doing things. And I think the key for me has been to trying to get out of my comfort zone, trying to go different places and shoot different types of things. Even, this winter doing, spending a lot of time with ducks, whereas and never really used to do that before. Last in fall, I tried to do more shorebird stuff, and I'd like to do more of that in the fall as well. And so I think getting out of my local region where I'm kind of used to going and knowing places,
Right.
doing scouting and new locations, looking for different subjects, and pushing myself to get over the anxiety of not knowing what's there, or what's coming,
Yeah.
or if I'm even going to get a shot. But just trying to put myself out there and put myself in an opportunity where I could be successful, and maybe I won't be, but trying to get over that fear of not succeeding because I'm doing something new or doing something different. I think it's important, if I want to grow, that I need to get over that, or else I'll just end up doing the same thing over and over again. So that's been enriching my passion for sure. Just trying to get better at my photography, trying to make it more impactful. And something that we talked about briefly was even just talking about photography and making connections with other photographers, and forming little group chats and joining communities and discussing and bouncing ideas. I think all of that also helps to enrich my photography as well. So I've been very grateful for that.
Absolutely. And as we hope you share some of your artistic vision with us on Wildlife World Photographers, I wanted to, for us, that group, it's a new journey, and it's amazing how quickly it's moving. I almost personally, it's a direction where it's really fulfilling my hobby and my love for wildlife photography. And I found that, yes, photographing, it's amazing. Learning new habitats, photographing new species is quite amazing. But and then, as you mentioned, being able to talk about this stuff, this is so, I love to listen and to talk about, to be honest with you. It's just that you hear those specific moments that you feel while you have them. It's only you having it, but it's not true. In a different colors per se, everybody's feeling their own niche. They have their own niche of, of experience on those moments. So it's amazing to hear about it. And those moments you really connect with other wildlife photographers. It's really nice. So having said this, thank you so much for being part of this experience, Shey. We really want to connect with more photographers from Canada. You are the first, and I hope you are just the beginning of, you are just a friend, and then hopefully we build a network of meeting more folks from there. I want to wish you a wonderful day, and thank you so much.
Thanks, you too, Yetmir, and I really appreciate the invitation. All the best.